Hey Balance Nation, Dr. Anthony G. Beck, and from time to time what I'll do is based upon a post that some of the members of Balance Nation pose, and they're too much to type, I figure I'll just make a little personal video. So this little shout out is going out to Tim. What's up, Tim? Sorry it took me so long, man. Busy, and you'll find out here at the end of the video why I've been so busy and why it's perfect that you asked this question. So basically, Tim was asking about a couple months ago. He realized that him and his wife and his kids, they've been becoming more tired and sleepy, bad moods abounding. Is that what you said, Tim? Abounding? No, running rampant. That's what he said. Always said they've been a morning family, and then they wake up early and things like that, and they found it extremely hard to wake up, and they've been sleeping a lot more. And some of the clues in the patient's unique story, which is central to the narrative of Balance Protocol anyways, right, is your biochemical individuality and genetic uniqueness. Well, the thing about it is that's where the story needs to unfold, and that's what we need to start looking at. So I know Tim had said that he's been in his house for about 1.5 years now. It's a newer home. It's a clue. Says that he's a contractor. That's a clue. But he also said he was a fellow student of wellness. Now that's a big clue too, because sometimes what that means is people do too many things at once. Shotgun approaches with no quantification of self. But we'll get back to that in just a second. Because then when he goes on to say that, knows what he's looking for in a house that causes issues and just can't figure it out. Well, I always love effort and things like that. I don't like to ever really put down. Pardon me if I'm moving around. It's Florida here, and we got mosquitoes. So he also says that the house is electric, and he's checked for visual mold, searched around the house and different things like that, and just can't figure it out. All right, so Tim, here's the thing. So this is where Balance Protocol comes into play, right? Now, I don't get into a ton of this, in the group specifically, but that's just because I'm more of an educator than a marketer, and somebody just bombarding you guys with all kinds of messages and stuff like that. But here's the deal. So Balance Protocol is the 2-3-5-8 framework. The 2 stands for the 2 questions. What do we got to add? What do we got to take away? So my first advice starts there. You got to be thinking, what do I got to add, but also what do I need to remove? It's not either or, it's always both. Then 3 stands for the 3 phases: nourish, balance, purify. Well, the first thing you got to realize is that a lot of times people will start detoxifying or removing things and kicking off molds and all that kind of fun stuff, going after microbes and whatever it may be, and we're going to get to those in just a second in the 5, before their environment and their cells and their biological terrain is ready to do that. And oftentimes they can create a whole bunch of trouble, more than it was worth, because of timing. You can do a lot of the right things, but you do things in the wrong order or in the wrong context, well, then you come up with a different result. It's kind of like math. We just don't go from left to right, right? You got an order of operations: add and subtract, multiply and divide, in the parentheses, out of the parentheses, above the line, below the line. You just don't just start figuring, right? So you need to nourish first. You need to make sure that you take time to do like what I'm doing every night, is get out here and get this sunshine, this magical light right now. Being a chaser of light, a photographer myself, this is the golden hour. It's amazing, not just for photography, but for your health. Little sidebar. But the funny thing about it is you have to nourish the body. Then you go on to balancing. This is where you can start tweaking things when you've built up enough resilience in the body to be able to do so. So you got to be careful when you're asking the 2 questions and applying the resolve in the right answer, in the right order. Then lastly, you purify. Okay, so nourish, balance, purify. The 5 stands for the 5 causative factors of all disease known to mankind, and they are: 1, nutritional deficiencies. Pretty simple to understand. Well, here's the thing. Something to consider is what's the nutritional status of you and your family. You just can't presuppose that if you're eating healthful, which is a big floating matzo ball, like floating alligators, you got to watch out for things that you assume that are healthful, because not everything is healthful for everyone, right? There's the vegetable people, the vegans, and there's the paleo, and then there's the blood type, and then there's the gaps and all these different things. And all sounds good, but there's no quantification. So even with Balance Protocol, you got to try it on. You got to quantify. And we'll get more on that a little bit later. So second thing are stressors. Now, stressors isn't just psychological stress. These are stressors from the environment. Okay, when it comes to the air you breathe, the water you drink, the light that you see, the electromagnetic fields that you're around, both electrical and magnetic, there's a difference. And then, of course, you know, the foods that you consume, the time that you eat these things, where you eat them, and how much. There's a multifactorial is the point. There's no simple answer, hence the video answer. Right? So you got to think about stressors. So nutritional deficiency stressors. Number 3, microbes. There's all kinds of bugs, man, other than just mold, which is a fungus, right? You got parasites, you got bacteria, you got viruses, and those have to come into play, okay? Number 4 are allergens. These are loss of or lack of tolerance, loss of tolerance to things in the environment, and the body is responding. And then net negative over time, though they might be you might be asymptomatic. What ends up happening is you develop a loss of tolerance for certain things that otherwise would be benign. Like I'm right here underneath these cypress trees, right? Well, some people might be allergic to cypress. Well, that doesn't mean that everybody's allergic to cypress just because it is an allergen. It's if you lose tolerance to it, which is a bigger story. Then the 5th thing, oh man, I think we got a gator in the water. I'm not kidding. Ripple right there. So the thing is the 5th are toxins, right? So this is going to be everything from phthalates to VOCs, volatile organic compounds. Bisphenol A is one that people kind of, a buzzword people are used to. All kinds of pollutants. So that's it. Those are the 5 things that cause disharmonies and disruptions. You got to assess and figure out those 5 things, okay? Then the 8 stands for the 8 systems. Whenever you ask the right questions, apply them through the right phases in consideration of the 5 causes, you just don't want to apply them to the system that is being affected. Like some people go, well, all health begins in the GI. That's not true at all. It all begins in the environment, right? Which is key number 1 of Balanced Protocol, environmental inputs. What are the environmental inputs? Well, I just talked about them because they can be stressors, right? So air, water, light, sound, electromagnetics, and food. Those 6 things. Yeah, so like right over here, you probably hear a little bit of traffic, that sound, that decibel, the body has to respond to that, right? So all the environmental things that are going on around you have to be taken in consideration, not just by themselves, but collectively, what is their symphony? What is their in-net result going on for you, right? And your family. Now, when we have a little, dare we say, a disease cluster going on, that's a clue. So that's even more so that it's environmental, right? It's not always genetic, right? Because it's like, well, we're all related. Well, you and your wife aren't. I mean, just by marriage. But if you're having the same symptoms, it can't be just from the DNA. It has to be the environment meets the DNA. So think outside of the box when it comes to that. So the second thing, of course, then the GI. That's the second one. Number 3, of course, is the mindset. What's going on with your mental, things like that. And are you nourishing not only your body, but you nourish your mind? Yep, you have to feed it. Like the fertilizer guy. You got to feed the brain too. What goes in? It's going to be a byproduct, what comes out is a byproduct of what goes in. Number 4, of course, this is where we're going to get into clearing inflammation and looking at the immune system. Number 5 is structural, not only musculoskeletal wise, but on the actual structure of the cell itself. There's a lot that needs to be coming into play there. Then, of course, you're going to move on to oxidative stress and energy production. Then we go on to hormones, neurotransmitters, and then last, biotransformation detoxification systems. Now, this is not a treatise on all those specifics, but here's the point. The reason why the 2358 is so powerful is because it provides a framework to navigate to get to the questions correctly, so you can definitely get the answers. So when I take a look at a family who's all experiencing the same things, well, what could possibly be in common? Well, all the environmental things that we just talked about are in common. So you got to look into that. But then you can say, well, I'm a purveyor of health and wellness and trying to make that better, a biohacker, or if you will. Well, here's the problem with that. Context. A lot of people in the that movement or of the wellness industry just use a lot of homogenized things as opposed to something that might say it be empirical. We all know we don't go out and just drink water from this pond because it's in nature, right? We don't know what's in it, right? That's not homogenized advice. That's empirical. We just know better. But to tell everybody you need to eat paleo, or tell everybody that you have to avoid gluten, or you got to tell everybody that you have to drink alkaline water, it's just all complete bullshit. It's just not true at all. Anything that has an ability to affect, to be an effector on you, can actually have a negative consequence because it has an effect, right? It's not always just positive, right? Too long of a hug or a kiss can get you chapped, get you bugged, right? Even though it's a wonderful thing, we got to get our daily requirement of those. So here's the deal. what I'd like you to do is review and share what are some of the things that you've been doing that you presuppose are helpful. Like, for instance, grounding. Everybody knows I'm a proponent of getting out here barefooted and getting that net negative charge of the earth. Now, doing that at all times and during the day is fantastic, but there's a different symphony that happens when you do that plus light. There's a different tune that's played. It's just like you can play an instrument in Carnegie Hall, or you can play it out in the woods. Play the same song, but the sound and the effect is going to be different. So again, back to environment. So if you're taking a look at like grounding, if you've done anything like that, oftentimes people are doing things like grounding their bed or grounding their sheets, but they didn't test the circuits that they're grounded to, and there's a lot of dirty electricity in there. Or they say, well, I did test for dirty electricity, so I put some filters on there, but when you sacrifice the electrical field, right, the dirty electricity, well, you gain a magnetic field. And so if your filter is near, like, say, the head of your bed, and you went ahead and you cleaned up the whole house as a contractor and maybe did that, I don't know, we get into your story, and you put the filter in the wrong place, you did the right thing, you just did it in the wrong place. So that can be an issue. The other thing is presupposing that the water that you're drinking is actually healthy. Have you sent off your water to see if in fact it's properly being filtered? You just can't go, well, I got a Berkey, and Berkey says, okay, that's great. Berkey's a pretty damn decent filter. I don't use one, but guess what? You got to test it. Right? It's like, we can't ever get through school or learning or life and just, oh yeah, I got the material, we're good. Okay, really? Okay, just graduate. No, you got to test. You got to find out, right? So test your water, test your electricity, test the EMF in your environment and different things like that. And mold is just not always visible or smellable. There's tests for that, right? So you can actually, take and see if there is some things. But, mold is not, it just all depends upon where you are too, right? So in other words, we always want to go with Occam's razor and the thought of what's the least difficult thing to substantiate, but don't get lost in the details, but also don't mire yourself by just being overly simplistic too. Remember, it's all about balance. So at the end of the day, let's take a look at the water you drink, the air that you're breathing. Have you taken a look at your air handlers and stuff like that? Is there chemicals outlay? Food quality and stuff like that. And I'm telling you, there's a gator up in here. This is pretty cool. This is why I like Florida, man. It's pretty neat. Yeah, I think he just popped his little head up over there. Sorry for the distractions. I'm awfully close. He might get me. But the thing is all those environmental inputs, take a look there. But even if you have or have not done any of those things, what you have to be willing to also do is kind of reset. Turn something subjective into objective. Kind of go, okay, what are we doing? Oftentimes, some of the things we're taking when it comes to supplements, those can throw off systems for a bunch of people. That can be a hidden source of things in contamination. So one of the good things to do is to kind of do a washout. Any of the things and the strategies, and this is my advice to you, that you've applied, go back and revisit them. Write them down. Don't just recall them. Recall's cool and all, but I'd rather you write than recall. Remember that, okay? What you'll end up doing is have a fresher look and go, well, what are some of the things that have changed, right? So review what you've done and make sure you haven't self-sabotaged. Next thing, sometimes things take a while to manifest. So a new house can create some problems, right? I also don't know where you live. There's always stuff like radon and things of that nature. So as a contractor, you might or might not be aware of those kind of things. So just think outside of the box when it comes to that too. But it takes a while for disharmonies to kind of manifest, okay? So let's take a deeper dive into what your environment is, regardless if you think things were helpful or not, or right or not. Take a fresh look at that, okay? The next thing is do a washout, okay? If you're taking any kind of supplements or you got any of that other kind of fun things that are strategies that you implemented, reverse them, right? And kind of take a look and see if there's a change, a worsening, or a betterment, because sometimes, despite our best efforts, we can shoot ourselves in the foot. I've seen it all the time, okay? So, since you got a personal video, and it's kind of a long one, I try to stay, a little on the slow side because people get tired of, listening because we stare at these damn idiot boxes for so long and all this artificial blue light just sapping our dopamines from our brain. At least on a selfie pole, I got it away from me, right? But just have fun with it. Get back with some information when it comes to that kind of stuff. And if you like, let's kind of play this out in Balance Nation. So that way, if you don't mind, if you want to get some free time from the good doctor, then that's what I would ask you to do. Okay, so we'll kind of play this out. Last but not least, here's the good thing and reason why this came into play is because what I have been doing now for the last 8 months is I've been working on the Balance Protocol Enviro program. It's going to be my first online program and launch. It's going to be an 8-moduled online weekly sequential delivery order that's going to give lots of this information, far more expanded, all the strategies, all the science, all the add and remove. I mean, it's amazing. I really kind of, overdid it. Right? I mean, it's not some of these little classes that you just kind of, oh, and that was entertaining. What I do is I cut through all the bullshit, the noise and confusion of the info space, of all the gurus, the marketing funnels, and all that kind of fun stuff. So it's going to be amazing. All my graphics are done. Everything's all being laid out. So it's going to be awesome. So stay tuned for that. And, of course, it'll be posted here soon in the group. And you guys are all going to get a significant discount off the program for being the beta people for it. But more on that a little bit later. So until next time, hope this helps, Tim. Let's live life in balance.